as our chief guest today. It's our privilege to have with us Mrs. Jennifer Moragoda, spouse of Sri Lanka High Commissioner. We also have Deputy High Commissioner Mr. Niloka from Sri Lanka and Honorable Minister Mr. Pushpa Kaura, Embassy of Sri Lanka. As we have gathered here today, I'd like to invite Ambassador Dr. Dhyaneshwar Moole for his address to the august audience. Dr. Dhyaneshwar Moole served as diplomat in Indian Foreign Services. He is renowned author, motivator and former secretary, Minister of External Affairs to the Government of India, popularly known as Passport Man of India. He has transformed the passport system by setting up 450 passport offices and set an example for ease of doing business, presently serving as the member at National Human Rights Commission. Over to you, sir.
You're relaxed and enjoying the evening. Let me extend a very hearty welcome to our chief guest today, High Commissioner of Sri Lanka, His Excellency Shri Ashok Milind Moragoda. If I hope I have correctly pronounced your name, and Madam for joining us this evening. I would also like to welcome Shri Jayant Kandare, who you see here. He is an innovator, scientist, researcher who has done some extraordinary work, pioneering work in the field of oncology. He's been our prime supporter for this evening. Ambassador of Israel, High Commissioner of Maldives, our senior diplomat, DCM from Bangladesh, DCM from South Korea. I hope I'm not missing anybody from the diplomatic community. We also have lots of former ambassadors of India. Mr. Darlong is here. You can raise your hand so that people know that you've been. And Ambassador Manju, she has been former ambassador of India. We also Mr. Atul Gotsirve, our former ambassador to North Korea. And you will see in this gathering, one very remarkable thing is everybody represents a different and diverse field. Somebody is from business, somebody is from education, somebody is from health services, civil society organizations. So that's the beauty of this evening. It's a kaleidoscopic gathering, very eclectic one. But today we are here to celebrate our friends, that is Sri Lanka's National Day. It's very important, particularly when Sri Lanka is going through some tough times, and as a friend, as a neighbor, India stands by Sri Lanka. We have very, very ancient relations. Buddhism is just one part of that. We are not been separated by the sea, but we are joined by the sea. Sea connects us. Sevens too, Maldives too, where I had the privilege of serving as High Commissioner. So without much ado, I would like to welcome all of you. Enjoy this evening. This is just a very small part of a formality. What His Excellency Ambassador said, High Commissioner said, is that I would certainly like to know something about the audience. So after maybe his remarks, if any one of you wants to say something, in short, of course, and introduce yourself, you're most welcome to do that. That was not originally planned, but he thought that it will make the evening more purposeful. So with those words, we are here to celebrate this great country's National Day, and I would like to wish Sri Lanka all the best, Sri Lankans all the best, and let India-Sri Lanka friendship flourish in the future, the way it has been in the past.
Thank you, Ambassador Dr. Dhyaneshwar Moole. Now I would like to invite Mr. Thanglur Darlong for his address to the august audience. Mr. Thanglura Darlong had joined Foreign Service in 1988 and have served various countries including Tokyo, Vietnam, Bhutan, Gulf, and also served in South Asian universities. Over to you.
Thank you for the warm introduction. His Excellency, High Commissioner of Sri Lanka, Madam, and members of the diplomatic corps and all present here, especially Ambassador Dianeswar Mule, Mr. Rishi Kumar, and others who are part of this organizing committee members. Today I am deeply honored to be here as part of celebration of Sri Lanka National Day. I rejoice all Indian friends and other friends from other nationalities. We rejoice with you, our Sri Lankan friends. It's excellent and auspicious day. And I appreciate the organizers for this kind of very unique initiative to build more cooperation and friendship between the two countries and people, India and Sri Lanka, in a bigger and multifaceted scale. I thank Ambassador Dianeswar Mule. He is always very innovative. I had the fortune of successing him in Tokyo. So it was a big shoes that I had to wear. It was very tough, but with his help and advice, I was able to do to some extent. Now, India and Sri Lanka have a legacy of intellectual, cultural, religious, and linguistic interaction, more than 2,500 years. And I am a student of ancient Indian history in general, not only Indian. And I'm very happy that the two countries are born, long historical bonds started with Buddhism, which Emperor Ashoka from India sent his children to preach the message of Buddha. And that had really spread that message from Sri Lanka to other parts of the world and to build more friendship, peace in the world. And I had the fortune of working with His Holiness Dalai Lama more than 2.5 years. So I feel fortunate, especially on this occasion when we are celebrating National Day of Sri Lanka, a very well-known Buddhist country. So I like to end saying that my best wishes for the everlasting friendship between the peoples of India and Sri Lanka. Thank you.
Sayal is a chief scientist, Octorius Innovation and Research, India and USA. He is co-founder of Octorius Innovation and Research and One Cell Diagnostic, India and USA Precision Oncology, awarded by Royal Society of Chemistry, UK, Fellow of Royal Society of Chemistry and Fellow of Maharashtra Academy of Science. He has prolific 110 scientific publications, records and 20 patents applications. Over to you, sir.
It's a great honor, and I must mention my sincere thanks to our passport man. I remember that probably my passport, which allowed me to move from India to US for research and education, is probably signed by Mr. Dianeswar Mule. Thank you very much for this kind of an interface. Hardly there would be an opportunity to express this kind of an work that actually all you diplomats and commissioners do for the society. And I remember here Dr. Chirantan is from my team, who is a molecular oncopathologist, has been stating onto all his posts, who is actually based in Delhi, that there is a common day, 4th February. All we know that we are gathered here for this evening is a national day or Independence Day of Sri Lanka. But most of you would not know that it is also a day in remembering all those people who undergoes the agony as a World Cancer Day. So this is a new knowledge that I would like to mention here, that this is a component of our privileged life, that what is a healthcare problem. Today, as we will be developed and entering into the developed countries, there are two major healthcare associated problems, and one is in cancer. The incidences, unfortunately, worldwide are increasing, and India or Sri Lanka is not an exception. I'm not here to talk about actually what is the number of statistics, but let us have a very brief about what is the statistics in a developed world. Globally in 2020, there were 19 million cancer incidences, and these incidences are on rise. More will be developed. These numbers will actually increase, and therefore scientists and researchers and businessmen and technologists and pharmaceutical companies have to do something about it. While there were 19 million incidences, there were about 10 million cancer deaths in that year alone. While we know that US as well as European nations has about 25 to 45% of cancer incidences. That's a question number. Why? I think this is not an occasion to talk about it. Fortunately, India, which is a very largely demographic country, has about 10% of an incidences. The cases which are actually registered are very, very low number. And many hospitals cater patients, including Tata Memorial Hospital, etc. But India has very, very bad disease, and it is a man-made tragedy, human tragedy, through the tobacco, gutka, and betel nuts, and recently mawa. So about 25 to 30% of incidences in cancer are actually head and neck cancer deaths, and this is a human tragedy. That is what I want to mention. And through all our efforts, I think, Mule sir, we want to actually, not have this kind of a technologies or drugs and medicines and precision oncology that we will talk for a whole night, but is actually a gamut of developed countries, and in a pyramid, lower bottom of a pyramid, the countries like India, Sri Lanka, Bangladesh, Myanmar, and many countries are away from this kind of possibilities. I stand here very humble and proud that I have been doing a research with my team since last 10 years, and we are a first-in-class, indigenously developed, DCGI approved, first medical device that has been approved by the Drug Control General of India, developed by the scientists working here, clinically validated onto our patient. And this test, which is called as an OncoDiscover blood test, it's a simple blood test which requires only 1.5 ml of a blood, can detect the metastasis in cancer patient. Last statistics today for the day. It's a myth that we need to have an early detections, and you can meet Dr. Chirantan Bose here to talk about preventions and etc. But 90% of the diseases, 90% of the mortality is because of a spread of a cancer. Unfortunately, science has not been able to cater the capture of circulating tumor cell, which spreads from the primary cancer to the distant cancers unknowingly, undetectingly, with the technologies that we use today like PET scan and MRI. So therefore, a technology which was approved in 2004 in US with spending $100 million remained in US and China until 2004. So we developed India's first medical device technology, more specifically, more intensely, more in a shorter time, from $2,600 to $200. I end my talk here to urge all of you that take a liberty to talk to us, and we are very serious about taking this technology to the countries through the diplomats and commissionerates through over here in meaningful bringing the life and survival of cancer patients. The last important note, India caters about 50 lakh cancer patients who are undergoing the treatment, and these patients will come back. So what goes around comes around in a cancer, and we are there to actually reach to those 50 lakh patients who could be detected early for the metastasis. Good evening, and thank you very much, Mule sir, for bringing me here.
Thank you, Dr. Jaykant Khandare. Now it's time to hear our chief guest, His Excellency, High Commissioner of Sri Lanka. His Excellency has served in the Cabinet as Minister of Justice and Law. During his 9-year tenure in Parliament, at various periods, he also held the post of Minister of Tourism, Minister of Economic Reform, Science and Technology, and Deputy Minister of Policy Implementations. He was responsible for carrying out progressive reform in these areas under his oversight. Over to you, sir.
Ambassador Mule, Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen. Ambassador Mule, I must really thank you for inviting my wife, me and my staff members, my senior diplomats for this event, because we were touched by the fact that you had seen it fit to do this, and your whole principle movement of positivity, the sentiment that lies behind that, and the vision that lies behind that, I want to begin by expressing our appreciation for this. Ambassador Mole mentioned that this audience was kaleidoscopic, I think. I think that's a good description because I think it's from varying backgrounds. So what I suggested to him was that I would speak shortly, and if there are any questions, thoughts about Sri Lanka, because I notice all of you have had connections or are interested, we would be happy to make it more interactive than just listening to me drone on for a long time. We, as you know, we are celebrating 75 years of independence. We are also celebrating 75 years of diplomatic relations between India and Sri Lanka. That is, in fact, quite misleading. It is misleading because the relationship goes back very much further. In fact, 80 years ago, in 1942, we sent a representative to Sri Lanka, our first, to India rather, a senior politician and a minister during the war period as representative to India to work with the colonial administration on matters connected with getting supplies, procuring supplies during the war, because there were scarcities in Sri Lanka in rice and other essentials, and so our representation goes back to that time as well. But it goes thousands of years back. So it is misleading to say 75 years. It goes back to the Ramayana. And what is interesting, and as it was pointed out by the previous speaker as well, is what I see as the basis of a special relationship. Because Sri Lanka is this small island off the coast of India. It's really not noticeable when you look at it. 22 million people now, and you are so large. But if you look at the history of India, the civilizational history of India, the connection between us is remarkable. Starting with Ramayana, I mean, the story of Ramayana centers around Sri Lanka. Sita was in Sri Lanka. We have many sites, Ramayana sites in Sri Lanka. So it goes back there. Then Buddhism. Emperor Ashoka, why did he choose his son and daughter to take the message of Buddhism to Sri Lanka? It's a question we can ask. I mean, this was the mightiest emperor of India in Indian history. And for whatever reason, he wanted to send his two children here. He could have sent them anywhere else, but he chose to send them to Sri Lanka with the message of Buddhism. So I always say that the relationship in Sri Lanka is a special relationship. And when people ask me what does special mean, special means the fact that Emperor Ashoka trusted Sri Lanka enough to send his daughter and son there. So, I mean, our relationship goes through ups and downs, but it is bonded through the civilizational link. So I think as we celebrate 75 years of independence, we celebrate 75 years of diplomatic relations. This year we will have different events to mark that. I think we should be celebrating something bigger, a sort of a relationship of thousands of years, where we have had this strong bond, and I think that is what we should be really celebrating. Last year, India supported us when we fell into financial crisis in an unprecedented way. And it is something all Sri Lankans appreciate. At a time when nobody really came to our support, India was willing to do that. Prime Minister Modi and his team led the way in that context. So we believe that this relationship is special and we will always hold it in that way. So I'm not going to speak much longer. I want to again thank Ambassador Mulle because it's really thoughtful of you, and what you have done is from the heart, I know, and your foundation is all about linking with the heart. Whatever we can do to help and work with you in your efforts on when it comes to positivity, and then of course the Swan Foundation, I know the work you are doing, and I spoke to many others here who are doing many different. They were participating in many different initiatives. And whatever we can do and my team here can do, we have our Deputy High Commissioner here, Minister here, and Minister Councillor. So during the evening, if there is anything that you feel you would like to know about Sri Lanka, any linkages you want to form, we would be happy to try our best in that regard. Thank you again for this opportunity. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you, His Excellency. Now I request Mr. Sandeep Dongre, CEO, Actorius Innovation and Research, for vote of thanks.
Yeah, hold on for a while. Anybody wants to raise any particular point quickly? We should really focus on enhancing people-to-people cooperation between India and Sri Lanka. If I can put that way. Yeah, please, Mr. Agarwal, go ahead.
You want me to come there?
No.
First of all, many congratulations. You bridged the gap with your name, Ashoka. So you bridged that gap of several centuries. Excellency, my name is Anil Agarwal. I was president of ASSOCHAM, the National Chamber of Commerce, and we've been interacting with Sri Lanka on various accounts in terms of basically economy and trade. So we know that the first ever fully operational FTAs between India is with Sri Lanka. And there are a lot of industries that were set up due to this FTA that we have. Now, of course, we talk about FTAs with Europe, we even talk about FTAs with Dubai, UAE. So, which is, we don't know what is really the meaning, but what we've seen is that during all these years that we've had the close relationship with Sri Lanka and the turmoil that we've recently seen, we are with you. We are with you to support you in every which way that we can in terms of building your economy back on rails. And we are here to give you the support with our knowledge, with our experience, with our industrial background, and also with financing. So we had a brief talk just before this meeting. We would be happy to support you from the Chambers of Commerce and Industry. I've had several meetings even during the COVID times with the Sri Lankan Chamber of Commerce and Industry, and we were talking about just before this crisis in terms of how we can build our relationships with you. And I must say that with Ambassador Mulle and his support, we would be able to do whatever best we can to build our relationships, political, social, and economic. Thank you and congratulations.
Anyone else? Okay. Thank you, sir. Now I request Mr. Dongre to proceed.
Indian colonialism, and which is all about national well-being, not just with Sri Lanka, but with our other neighbors like Maldives and even Korea. I think the future, as Sir said, cancer, not just cancer, but many diseases are widespreading. And from India, we really, nothing can match Indian medicine in the ancient way of living life, which was very, very mental well-being centric, and the lifestyle was very much health centric. I think one thing right now I can think is wellness with tourism, which might we can do in different countries, which will definitely help both countries to have better relationship. And of course, it will generate not much but little employment and some opportunities to local people there as well. And here we will also be able to exchange ideas and wellness initiatives with the neighboring countries.
Somebody else is there? Yeah, who is that? Please stand.
I have a question for Dr. Jain. Your test is available already is available everywhere, or what is your motto, or what is your plan for future?
Yeah, the test is available in India. It is actually catered all over. We are in Delhi. Delhi actually uses, Delhi cancer patients and hospitals and doctors use it very widely. Delhi is actually an experimentalist. And as I mentioned that, about 90% of patients, they come back, succumb. And this is also validated in most of the countries where, 5 years survival in Asia is about only 30%, whereas Western countries, the survival of 5 years is about 70 to 80% because of a detection, treatment, very exorbitantly costly, expensive treatment. So the whole goal is that the test is available with us today, and anyone actually in this forum want to talk to us. We have made it very, very affordable, and we can collect the blood samples from any continent in the world, including Sri Lanka is our one of a friendly country. So my urge is actually that we are here to innovate, and the use of this technology is very, very important. If at all we want to bring the burden on the families and the agonies and pain and extend the survival of these patients as much as possible. Because this kind of a test are an ownership by the developed countries. This test is very, very expensive, and for decades that test doesn't come to this country. So the scientists like me, the forums through the Department of Biotechnology innovates such kind of a high-risk innovation for the lower strata of an economical population. So very much it's available. Thank you.
Yeah, go ahead.
Ma'am.
I'd like to know, Highness, that what do you think which sector is going to be beneficial for Sri Lanka in future? Like, is it tech or pharma tech or any sector where we can work towards it and make a difference? And which is going to give us also eco boost, and also like we can also bridge up the gap and become friendly, more friendlier. Which sector is basically, if you can just tell us 2-3 sectors also would be great, and we can work towards it.
The quickest sector is, of course, tourism. We do not really compete with our High Commissioner there from the Maldives. I think we complement each other. So I think we can actually work together. In fact, we were talking about that a few days back. I think tourism would be the quickest. India was our largest source market before COVID. Nearly 20-25% of tourism was from India. And it has prevented, it will have great potential, there is no question about it. The quickest is that. And Sri Lanka also has potential for niche tourism, wellness related tourism, so I think that is there. You mentioned eco-friendly. I think renewable energy is a field, and there is a lot of interest from India on that. In fact, the northwest coast of Sri Lanka, off the northwest coast, that is also next to South India, we have potential for around 30,000 megawatts of wind energy. Now, our whole installed capacity of electricity in Sri Lanka is only 4,300 megawatts. So 30,000 megawatts, we cannot use it. So we are now talking to India. We are about to sign an MOU to have cable connectivity between India and Sri Lanka for power. And the idea is to base it completely on renewables. So wind and solar would be the two areas. So that would be, I think, two sectors. IT, we have a lot of potential. Companies like HCL have already set up in Sri Lanka. I think Tata is also setting up. I think companies that are looking to have another sort of an off-site arrangement out of India, somewhere close, are finding Sri Lanka to be convenient. We are trying to set up an ecosystem for digital technology also. In fact, we are planning to, we have just signed an agreement with India to use the Aadhaar card as a model for our identity card in Sri Lanka. So that could also help to integrate further. Obviously, we will have our own card, but we are using it as a template, the Aadhaar as a template. We are also looking at rupee-based trade between India and Sri Lanka, and so that to make it easier for Indian tourists coming in to use RuPay and other rupee-based mechanism, and also to use that to expand trade. Sectorally, I think IT, when I said tourism, IT and renewable energy would be three. I mean, I can go on a bit more, but I think these three would be the ones that are quick. And tourism will be the quickest, I think.
One last question there.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Sujata Parashar, and I'm a novelist and a writer based in Delhi. So it's a related question to Pradesh of what the lady asked earlier. I was wondering that you will mention literature festivals, which is one of the very popular. Sri Lanka has a very popular literature festival going on before COVID or before these past few years. So I was wondering, are you planning to open that? Is that in tourism? Would you also think about that from a writer's perspective, because that is also one big attraction. And I have been to Sri Lanka a couple of times, and I've loved the country and the different places that I've been to. So do you have any thoughts on that, please? Thank you.
The Goa Literary Festival that you mentioned, that was extremely attractive, and people, I mean, we visited Jaipur the other day, but I think we have a different kind of charm to the Goa Literary Festival, so I think again there is no need to compete. I think there are two different niches. Yes, I mean, the Goa Literary Festival, I think it was unable to sustain itself after COVID, so we need to find a way forward on that. And I think there is a lot of discussion going on. I think Sri Lanka, I mean, what I mentioned about niches, I mean, that is our strength, I think. We can offer diverse niches. And if you look at Instagram, I think has mentioned Sri Lanka as one of the top places when it comes to Instagram spots of interest. So definitely, I mean, the Literary Festival or something similar to that will definitely come up. In fact, during the Jaipur Festival, the organizers were talking to me about possibly doing something similar in Sri Lanka. I think they have also developed their own brand now, which they are trying to take out. I mean, these are all possibilities, but yes, the short answer is yes.
Sir, one more question, if I may ask.
Please.
Sir, coming from
His Excellency, the High Commissioner's email, and he will be, I'm sure, be very receptive, and deputies, officers, if need be, please feel free. But we should have something from our side, maybe India Sri Lanka Cultural Festival or something like that in the near future, well coordinated, well planned. Perhaps autumn of 2023. From our side, we'd like to work with you closely on that. Yeah, thank you so much.
I am Sandeep, and I am the Chief Operating Officer of Victorious. I am a proud citizen of India and feel responsible in celebrating the 75th Independence Day of our glorious neighbor Sri Lanka. Thank you for gracing this occasion. I thank Team Swan Foundation and Movement of Positivity led by Ambassador Dr. Daneshwar Mude, Positive Rishi Kumar and Sashikant Kamde. I am very grateful to His Excellency Sri Lanka for joining us for this celebration and also Mrs. Jennifer Ma'am. I thank Deputy High Commissioner and Minister from Embassy of Sri Lanka, Mr. Niluka, and Mr. Pushpakura. A very special thanks to His Excellency Mr. Ibrahim Shahib, who is the High Commissioner of Republic of Maldives. Hello, sir. His Excellency now Galon, High Commissioner from Israel, and also his wife, Galon, Mrs. Gilon. I am not able to see her. Okay. Again, I thank His Excellency Ms. Lim Sang-woo, Minister, Embassy of Republic of Korea. We also thank Mr. Laszlo Mack, who is the Chief Counselor, Economy and Trade, Embassy of Hungary. I thank Ambassador Mr. Thangaralu and his spouse, Mrs. Kimi Dalon, Deputy High Commissioner Maldives, Ms. Suzil, Ambassador Ms. Manju Seth, Ambassador Mr. Atul Gotsurve, Mr. Punit Agarwal, Joint Secretary, MEA, Mr. Anup Singh, Under Secretary, MEA, Dr. Jayant Khandare, Chief Scientist, Actorius Innovation, and all the distinguished guests. So let us enjoy the friendship between the two nations and look forward to a bright future for all of us. Thank you.